Hey everyone, welcome back to Strange Minds 6. I'm your host Ruby, and today we're going to be getting back into Creepers, Pen Pals by Edgar Hyde. Before we begin, please hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It would mean the world to me. And if you want, grab a snack, grab a drink, or sit back and relax, and let's get to it. Chapter 5, Library Research. The next day at school, Natasha, Olivia, and Elise stood chatting in the hallway. "Still going out with Scott, Elise?" Olivia asked. "Yes, we went to the movies last night and saw a really scary movie. We know the one, you know, the one about the zombies in the mall." "Zombies? Are you nuts?" laughed Natasha. "I thought couples were supposed to go see romantic movies and sit in the back row." Elise laughed. "I know I don't exactly think Scott and I are going to work out. I'd rather sit and watch a good scary movie than make out in the back row. Olivia, is something wrong?" Olivia had turned from the two girls and was staring at Marcy, who was walking slowly toward them, except that she wasn't walking. She was limping and dragging her leg behind her. "What did you do to your leg?" Olivia stammered. Marcy made her way to the girls. "I fell down getting out of the shower last night. The floor was wet and I slid," she finished. "I have to go," she said. "I've got social studies first period, and you know what Mr. Livingstone's like." "Bye, Marcy," the girls shouted as they watched her disappear up the stairs and down the hall. "I have to run too," said Elise. "See you at lunch." "Bye, Elise," said Natasha. "Olivia, are you all right?" she asked her friend. Olivia shivered. "Yes, I'm okay, Natasha. It's just that with the color of Marcy's hair and the limp, she looked just like—" "It's okay, Olivia. I know who you mean. Susanna Grayson on my mind too, but I'm trying hard not to think about her." Just then, the bell rang, summoning the girls to the class. "Let's go." Natasha took her friend's arm. "We can talk more about this later." Natasha spent the whole first two periods decorating her notebook with drawings of eyes, Cleopatra's eyes, with thick black liner and gold lashes, Cleopatra's eyes with thick green liner and blue lashes, Cleopatra's eyes with thick silver liner and gold lashes. She was just debating whether or not to paint her nails two different colors when she was startled by the bell ringing. She stuffed her books into her backpack, and as she did, she came across the class photo. She had just put it into her bag the previous evening so that she could ask Olivia who the mystery girl was. Natasha met up with Olivia in the lunch line. "Wait until I show you this." Natasha took the photo from inside her bag and showed it to Olivia. "Notice anything?" she asked her friend. Olivia scanned the photograph. "Oh my God, it's her!" she stammered. "Natasha, that's her, the girl from the graveyard. The one at the top of the photo." She turned to Natasha. "I don't understand. What's going on here?" People were turning around to stare. Shh, Olivia! Natasha again took her friend's arm and guided her away from the line toward the hall. What on earth do you mean? I can't believe what I'm hearing, said Natasha. Do you mean the girl in the photo is Susanna Craigson? Olivia was no longer listening. Instead, she was rummaging through her own backpack. Here it is, she said triumphantly. As she pulled out her own copy of the class picture, she peeled the cellophane from the print and thrust it in front of Natasha's eyes. Look, she cried. She's not in my photo. There's nothing weird about mine. Who's been tampering with yours? None of this is making any sense. Who would want to paint a face on your photo? Who is this Susanna Craigson? She started to cry. Natasha took Olivia's photo and looked at it long and hard. Sure enough, the girls in the back row of this photo were all classmates, and there was no sign of the girl who stood at the top right-hand corner. I don't know the answers to any of your questions, Olivia, but I want to find out just as much as you do. Whoever Susanna Craigson is, we're going to find out, and find out soon. Come on, don't cry anymore. It's all right. Olivia wiped her eyes with the sleeve of her jacket. Natasha held both photos in her hands. She must stay calm for Olivia's sake, as well as her own. She turned the photographs over and saw that Olivia's name was written on Natasha's copy, and vice versa. Marcy must have mixed up the photo prints when she picked them up the previous day. Olivia, it looks like you had my copy, she said. Look, your name's on mine. She showed the back of the photos to the girl. Not that it matters, she finished. Oh, but it does, Olivia replied. Don't you see? Susanna said she had to talk to me, that I was in great danger. She seems to be trying to contact me somehow, adding things to your notes, appearing outside the cemetery, and now appearing in my picture. I don't know if I can take much more of this. Olivia was white as a ghost. Natasha tried to appear reassuring. Come on, she said purposefully. We have 2 more classes, then you and I, my friend, are going to the library. We're meeting Elise and probably Marcy, though. Darn, said Natasha. Well, we'll just have to wait then. No more notes, she smiled. We'll make our plans face to face from now on. Why are we going there anyway? Asked Olivia. Because they keep old newspapers, things of interest that happened in town in the past, and if there's anything about Susanna Craigson, we're going to find it. Olivia shuddered. Thank goodness Natasha was so brave and sensible, or at least pretending to be, because Olivia wasn't coping with this thing very well. Natasha replaced the 2 photos beside each other inside her backpack as both girls made their way to the next class. Neither she nor Olivia noticed that the girl at the top right corner of Olivia's class photograph had completely faded out of sight. Mrs. Florence looked at both girls over the rim of her glasses. Don't usually see you 2 young ladies in the library after school, she stated. Natasha sighed. I know, Miss Florence, but we've decided to take part in a new project. life back in the 1800s right here in our own little town, and we thought you'd be the best person to help us out. Now that I'm insinuating, not that I'm insinuating that you're old or anything, she continued, just that maybe you could point us in the direction of any old newspaper, history books, old pictures, etc., that could help us out. The seemingly cold but kind-hearted librarian almost smiled. This way, then, girls. She led them toward the narrow, winding staircase of the old library. Hurry, before any other potential knowledge seekers come in looking for assistance. The girls had never been upstairs in the library before. Indeed, it wasn't one of the most favorite places of all. They could always find much more exciting things to do outside of the school, or at least up until now. When you reach the top, the books on your left will help you with the history of the actual town. Then the shelves below have hanging files which could certainly contain old newspapers in chronological order, which I don't want messed up, she added, before returning to the main desk. If you need any help, you'll have to come down. I really can't leave the desk unmanned in case it gets busy. Her words faded into the distance as the two girls climbed up the stairs higher and higher, up into the upper level of the old library. Natasha and Olivia exchanged glances. Busy? Natasha raised her eyebrows. Sorry about that, guys. Natasha raised her eyebrows. When was the last time you saw a line form outside the library? Olivia giggled. Shh! She'll hear you. And we may need her help later. You never know. She won't hear us, replied Natasha. Listen, can't you hear her? Stamp, stamp. She just loves putting that overdue stamp on the return books. The girls had by now reached their destination. Gosh, what a musty smell, said Olivia as she plunked herself down on the dusty floor. It'll get even worse by the time we're finished, returned Natasha. Just look at how thick the dust is on top of this book. She pulled a large brown book from one of the top shelves and opened it on the desk in front of her. Okay, Olivia, you start with the newspapers. Now let's see. If I remember correctly, Susanna lived from November 1806 to November 1820. To see if you can find anything about her from the papers, here. She drew 2 bags of chips from inside her pocket. Sustenance. 2 hours later, the girls had made little progress. The name Craigson, Natasha had discovered, was relatively new to the town. The family had settled there in a house with a description that meant nothing to either of the girls. They decided that the house must no longer exist, or if it did, it had been changed so much by the present owner that it bore no resemblance to the description in the book. Wait a minute, said Olivia excitedly. Look at this. Tragedy with Craigson household. A young girl was today recovered from the boating pond outside her home at Gate Fells after a fatal drowning incident. Natasha slammed her book shut and gave her full attention to what Olivia was reading. That's where Elise lives. Gate Fells. Go on, Olivia. Don't stop there. Mr. and Mrs. Craigson, who today lost their only child, are understandably distraught and have asked that they be left alone with their grief. The story stopped there. Though, in a later article, the girls were able to read more about the family. Apparently, not much was known about the couple, being relative relatively newcomers to the town, although Mr. Craigson was fast becoming a well-known figure in the community through his tireless work helping charitable organizations. They found that the girl who had drowned had indeed been named Susanna. She had gone out of her own in the boat, despite having been warned by her parents on previous occasions that she should always be accompanied. If she had been accompanied by someone, there was no evidence of this. The article also said that she was in poor health and wore a built-up shoe, as she had been born with one leg shorter than the other. Olivia inhaled sharply. It's gotta be the same person, Natasha. The girl in the photograph and the grave site. But why is she trying to reach me now? Oh, I wish I understood what was going on. It wasn't so long ago that I didn't even believe in ghosts. Natasha continued to flick through several newspapers. At least we found out some information, Olivia. The day hasn't been a total waste. I mean, we know now that Natasha Craigson did live here and that she was killed in a boating incident and that she was very young. She stopped. So what? Natasha, I mean, I'm sorry, but how exactly does that help us figure out why on earth she wants to get in touch with me? Olivia sighed. Relax. We'll get to the bottom of this little mystery soon enough, Natasha replied. And hey, did you notice those dates? November 2nd, 1806 to November 1st, 1820. That means she died the day before her birthday, the day after Halloween. That has to come. That has to have some significance. It's too creepy not to. Come on, let's get out of here before we get put back up on the shelves with the rest of the old relics in here. I feel so dusty, I can't wait to get home and take a shower. The two girls climbed back down the winding staircase, dusting themselves off as they went. Thanks, Mrs. Florence, they shouted to the librarian as they headed for the door. Shh, girls. She held her finger to her lips. Sorry, they giggled. Didn't think there was anyone here to disturb. Luckily for them, Mrs. Florence didn't hear their last remark. She followed them to the door. I hope you put everything back in chronological order. She bent over to talk to the two girls. I put in a lot of work organizing those papers, you know, she finished. Yes, of course we did, Natasha smiled. Thank you for all of your help, Mrs. Florence. We might need to come back another day, and it's great to know you'll be here for us to rely on. She gushed. Mrs. Florence pushed a loose tendril of hair back behind her glasses. Always a pleasure to see you both. She flushed. Come back whenever you like, girls. She closed the door gently behind them both. Natasha, said Olivia, as they crossed the road outside the library to begin the journey home. Yes, said Natasha, absent-mindedly. What does chronological mean? And that is the end of chapter 5. Tune in next time and next video to hear about chapter 6 and hear about the dance. This has been Ruby, signing off.